What's up, YouTube?
How's it going, everybody? YouTube, Facebook Live. It's Todd Bishop with Andrew Edwards. You're here for the Geared Up live stream.
That's right.
We are back. We've got a lot to talk about this week. We're joking. It's our Back from the Dead episode. Not us.
Yes. No, we're fine. But there's a lot of technology that is making its way back into the world, although we'll see how successful they are. They might go back into the grave.
That's right.
After a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. So we'll be talking specifically about the return of Nokia smartphones, this time not with Windows embedded.
No more. Windows doesn't even exist anymore.
Windows Phone doesn't exist, exactly. The revival of the Samsung Galaxy Note in a monster form factor.
Yep.
I can't believe how big this thing is going to be. And, of course, the all-important resurrection of Microsoft Paint.
It's important. that was close. It was close.
It was a near-death experience for Microsoft Paint. Also, we'll have updates on the HTC U11 with Alexa and the latest on our experiences with T-Mobile.
Oh, man.
I got a lot to talk about there.
We'll see. Plus, we got some smart home stuff as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Got some tech. We talk tech here, hardware, news, software. It's all good.
Absolutely.
What are we starting with?
Let's start with the Galaxy Note 8.
We got to let them know?
Oh, yes. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah,
Andrew.
of course.
Don't forget, you're watching the live stream of Geared Up. You can also hear our podcast. And to get that, just search for Geared Up wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, basically anywhere you want to go.
All over the place.
And also, if you want to make sure to be alerted when we go live, you can either go to Andrew's YouTube channel, that is youtube.com/gearlive, subscribe, and then press the bell.
Right.
That is
That'll
how
give
you
you
get
notification.
alerted.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Or you can go to GeekWire's Facebook page and like our page, and you'll get a notification there as well.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
It's global.
There you go. There you go. All right. What's our first story?
All right. Samsung's Galaxy Note 8. Now,
yes.
Let's sort of catch people up here because I assumed that we were done talking about any kind of Galaxy Note after the debacle that was the Galaxy Note 7. Is that not the case?
That's not the case at all. In fact, Samsung just released a Note about 2 weeks ago, the Galaxy Note Fan Edition.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
I hope you're ready. Strap yourself in. The Galaxy Note Fan Edition is Samsung taking all of the recalled Galaxy Note 7s, taking out the battery and putting another one in and rebranding it.
Jeez. Didn't they do this once before?
They did. It was unsuccessful.
So it's Fan Edition, meaning people who are fans
People who really liked the Note 7
should risk burning down their homes.
There it is. Because it's the same thing. It's the same phone. It's the same phone as a Note 7.
But this time we swear the battery doesn't combust.
It's all good. It's all good. So if you really like the Note 7, which was, in all fairness, aside from that one issue, a great phone. It would have been my phone of the year.
It was it was probably one of your favorite phones of all time.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. So it was unfortunate what happened to it. But if you really liked that phone and you want to get in on it, you can do that by picking up the Galaxy Note Fan Edition. That just came out, like I said, a couple weeks ago. Now, moving on from there, we've got the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, which is going to be announced in New York City on the 23rd of this month. So they announced that there's an announcement coming.
Which is typical fare.
Who does that?
Everybody does that.
No, they don't.
Well, Microsoft, Apple, they schedule these special events usually. In this case, though, you know what the product is.
Right. But, okay, so
that's the difference.
So we know, for example, when Apple invites people to a September event, we know that's going to be an iPhone, right? We know this. But Apple doesn't say, hey, at our September event, we're announcing the next iPhone.
Right.
So come on out. So Samsung is like, hey, Galaxy Note 8, don't miss this.
Right.
So, yeah, but 6.3-inch display.
Okay, for context, I looked this up. The iPhone 7 Plus, 5.5 inches.
5.5 inches, yes.
That is crazy. At 6.3 inches, it's like it's no longer a phone. I mean, I know that there's the phablet phrase, but to me, when you get to 6.3, that's just a good old-fashioned tablet, isn't it?
Well, you're thinking screen size, so you may not be thinking correctly because I bet the Galaxy Note 8 is possibly smaller than this iPhone 7 Plus.
Gotcha.
Because, this has so much bezel,
right?
And the Galaxy Note will not have much bezel at all. So does that change your opinion a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. If it's in this size with that size screen, then I'm on board. And, of course, because of the rules of geometry, you can actually do more diagonal and then not boost the actual height and width as much.
Those are the rules of geometry.
The rules of geometry.
I didn't realize that, so I'm glad you're educating me.
I'm pretty sure there's a theorem that I'm forgetting right now.
Yes. So I don't know, like the pricing is what people are curious about. So the next two major, the two big phones coming out this year are going to be the Note 8 and the iPhone, whether it's 8 or Pro or whatever, the new one from Apple. And people are curious on both of these. The speculation is that the price is going to be super high,
like more than $1,000 for each.
Right. Speculation. So we don't know, but what's your take on that? Would you spend 1,000, or let's just say if it's more, let's just say, would you spend $11.99 on either an iPhone 8 or
that would be a
Note
tough
8?
purchase. That's a major purchase.
It
And I
is.
realize in most cases we're all buying phones on installment plans at this point, but I am so attuned at this point to my monthly bill that, gosh, I can't even think. It would probably be like $50 more a month or something like that than I'm paying now. Wow, at that price point, it would be not an easy decision. Let me put it that way.
Because I think we talked about this last time a little bit, and the problem is, in order to make, it feels like phones have been stagnant for a little bit, and these new bezel-less displays are the next big thing. But other than that, the insides of the phone have been kind of the same. And for a big leap forward to occur, we need tech that's not yet cheap. You know what I mean? They need to put things in there that cost more to put in, but that adds cost to the device, and it also makes it a little more rare so that they can get enough pieces to put into these phones without selling millions of them.
So does that suggest that this will have just some kind of wicked fast processor and just amazing screen and
well, the display,
AI,
I'm sure, is going to be amazing. I think it's more about like the type of cameras that are going to be used for AR and VR. So Samsung will usually there's a rumor about what Apple's doing, and then Samsung will try to come out first. So like, even a couple of years ago, there was a speculation Apple's working on a smartwatch. The next thing they're going to do is a smartwatch. And Samsung is like, okay, we got to get our watch out there first. And they did. And they came out with, I think, 2 generations of watch before the Apple Watch came out. And so similarly, everyone's talking about this next iPhone and all the AR and VR capabilities that it's going to bring to the table. And I think Samsung is going to try to come out a month early and say, here's what we're doing. All the stuff you're expecting from the iPhone, here's how we're doing it. And here's how we're going to do it better. They're not going to say better because we don't know what the iPhone's doing yet, but that's the thing. And in order to, AR and VR is pretty intensive stuff.
Yep.
Even if it's on a PC, you need a really good PC to make it happen. So on mobile, you need good cameras. You need a different camera system that's like laser focused and shooting. You need like 2,000 points of data for the camera to bring in for depth sensing and all that kind of stuff. So I do think that the price, as crazy as it sounds, it's kind of warranted too. Especially it's all miniaturized. The smaller you make something, the more expensive it gets, and it really is at this point. These things are small computers. So. Yeah, I don't know. Does that mean you might skip the new iPhone?
I don't know.
Is that what that means?
It's difficult. We'll see. We'll see. We'll talk a little later. I had an iPhone 7 experience this past week that I almost did the upgrade. Okay, so that's the Note 8. Big price, potentially.
Yeah.
Big size for sure.
Right, definitely.
And coming later this year?
Yeah, so they'll announce it on the 23rd. They don't do as quick a turnaround as Apple. So usually Apple announces a phone and then releases it usually 10 days later. Samsung doesn't do that quick of a turnaround, but I would assume that their phone will be available before the new iPhone is.
Gotcha. Okay. Speaking of the new iPhone, we talked about that last week. It had been rumored to be delayed.
Right.
That rumor now appears not to have been true.
Right. Well, the rumor to counter the rumor, because Apple hasn't said anything. Right.
Yes.
So now the rumor is coming out of China that they've started the pre-mass production process of 3 models of smartphone. So one would assume that would be the iPhone 7S, 7S Plus, and then the newer 8 or Pro. So when they're doing this, it's usually they make 200 to 300 pieces per day of the phone. So that's not a lot at all. But they basically want to make sure that as they're making a whole bunch of them, that as they come out, that the quality is there and that it's consistent and everything that they expect to works the way it should. So the next step from here would be going into mass production. And I honestly don't know, how that all works, because you have to imagine when they announce a phone and launch it, they have to have millions available on day one, globally,
Yeah.
like across the world. So, I don't know how soon that means they need to start mass production, because how many can you make per day between now and September to hit multiple millions of phones in boxes ready to ship?
But there are signs. It's at least a sign that there's not going to be a delay.
Right. The sign is, if there was a delay happening, that they wouldn't be ready to be at this stage where they're producing a few hundred a day.
Okay.
So that leads us to believe that we will see the phone on time. On time meaning, by the end of September. Hopefully, we'll see.
And you're not convinced this will be called the iPhone 8?
I'm not convinced at all. They've never released a full version phone, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then released the next full version phone the next year. They've never done that. So my assumption is similar to Samsung, who has the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus, and then they have the Note 8. They don't have they're not announcing the 9. They have their 2 main phones, and they have a Pro, basically a more prosumer version. I think that's where Apple's going. So it wouldn't make sense to call it the 8, because then what do you do next year?
It could it just be the iPhone Pro? I mean, that would follow
Right,
the
that's
model.
what-
follow
right.
the model with
That's
the
what I would
iPad.
think, like iPhone Pro or like iPhone Edition, which
Yeah.
is, if you look at the Apple Watch line, Edition is the top of the line version. It's different. That's a
I
product.
don't know. If it's,
That's a product. But
they
the,
That's a
brought it
product.
back, and then it was in
the
short
comparison
supply.
I'm making is the feeling people had. They had that feeling of like,
Gotcha.
oh, this is something from my childhood. This is something I had good feelings about in the past.
Yeah.
And now that I can't access it anymore, I'm upset about it.
Right.
Even if they wouldn't really have used it anyway. Like I didn't-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing.
I will say, you know what I use for the very same things that you're talking about,
What's
Claire? I love, do you know what I'm going to say?
Excel.
Excel.
What?
Because he's a crazy person.
What?
So here's what you do.
Wait a minute.
Excel,
We're talking about for image manipulation?
not so much manipulation, but for simple graphics and cropping. and
Okay.
so like Claire's example about where she took 2 photos, put them together, I will frequently do that in Excel. And the key...
What?
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you how it started. The key is to take away the grid lines. You take away the grid lines, and suddenly Excel is like this wonderful open canvas of numbers and art and graphics and charts. You can do math. You can do...
I'm thoroughly confused right now.
Why? I can show you.
Excel?
Here's how I do it. Yeah. Don't you use Excel?
You're not alone, Andrew.
I hate
Everyone in
Excel,
the
number
office
one.
does this
And number two,
Oh my
Excel
God.
is for like
What?
putting numbers
How
in.
can you possibly
Excel's
hate
terrible.
Excel. I'm
Excel?
sorry. Oh, Excel is one of the greatest pieces of software ever made.
What?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm leaving.
Are you kidding me?
Excel.
The things you can do with Microsoft Excel. Who out there on YouTube hears me? Who hears me?
If
Come
you're on YouTube and you like Excel, let us know. And if you don't like Excel, let us know. But here's the problem. You know what Excel is? Excel is what the movie Office Space is based on. Like, Excel is boring and corporate and confusing
and
and bloated.
extremely useful. And I mean, there is almost nothing more beautiful than a complex multi-tabbed spreadsheet where you can change a number on one tab and have a formula that cascades through the rest of the workbook.
Cascading.
And you change one number in the front, and suddenly you have this deep insight into some problem that you were solving. Excel is one of the. I'm going to be like what you are to the Samsung Galaxy. I'm going to be that to Excel. I'm going to be on the.
You're going to be on commercials?
I'm going to be on the top of the New York Times. Here, show folks. You
Excel.
still got. Do we have the?
Do you have the image? Put the
This is
image
going to
up.
be me. This is going to be me. Except it's going to be Excel. I'm going to be sitting there
Oh
looking at
my
my
God.
At any rate, yeah, Microsoft Paint is gone, but I encourage all of you to look at the incredibly flexible potential of another Microsoft program, which is Excel.
Excel. So not Paint 3D. Not Paint 3D.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
We're going.
Okay, so we didn't. So Microsoft Paint is not dead. So later in the day, getting back to the actual news here, away from my Excel love letter, Microsoft announced that Paint will actually be available in the Windows Store. So it just won't ship with Windows anymore. But it will be available in the Windows Store. So I don't know if this was a big ruse to get attention from folks.
Since it's on the Windows Store, though, that means you can use it with Microsoft Windows 10S
Right. That's right.
right?
That's right.
So
the
because it's
Surface
for
laptop.
kids, it's an app for kids, and Windows 10s is geared towards that market.
Yes.
Hey, now you can use Paint
Yep.
back where it belongs.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So that's that. It was not clear to me if it was planned this way or if all along it was
Damage
just on, because it
alert.
was just on a deprecation list.
Yeah.
And then they came out later in the day and said, "Oh no, it's going to be in the Windows Store." Did they do that in reaction to the reaction? That wasn't clear.
Possibly.
All right. What else is on our list here?
We got these Nest products.
Yeah.
Smart home.
We're going to be talking on an upcoming podcast
So
about.
if you want to hear more about these in particular, make sure you've got the podcast subscribed. But real quick, we're just going to talk about some smart home stuff. Do you have a smart home yet? Have you started getting your home controllable by voice or with your smartphone?
I've got a lot of work to do, Andrew, so I think you can help me here.
Yeah. Well, these are products from Nest. Nest sent these to me earlier this week. They sent me basically a box of Nest stuff. The only thing they didn't send is their current Nest cam, the indoor cam.
Yeah.
Which is a rebranded drop cam. So we'll just go through these one by one real quick and talk about these.
Just to remind folks, Nest, owned by Google.
Now. Right.
They had, and their first product was the thermostat, right?
Right
the
here.
learning thermostat.
Yes.
And then they came out with the smoke detector. Didn't they have problems with the smoke detector?
They did. They did have problems with the smoke detector. Let's go one by one. So they started here, Nest Learning Thermostat, right? So you hook this up. It's actually something that looks good on your wall. It has a display on it, and it's easy because most thermostats are confusing to use. There are all these buttons. You don't know what they do. With the Nest thermostat, you literally just walk up to it, and it's a dial. So you turn it up or turn it down, and it'll start learning over time, oh, at this time of day, they like it to be this temperature, or when they go to bed, they like that temperature. And there's also a motion sensor built in. So if it's like, oh, we haven't seen anybody in the house for a while, we can turn off the AC or turn off the heat. And there's a little leaf on there. So whenever you see that leaf, it means you're saving money. So it'll compare your patterns, and over time, the ultimate goal is, number one, you don't have to worry about your thermostat anymore. But number two, you're also saving money at the same time. So that's the Nest Learning Thermostat. You can control it with Alexa, Siri, not Siri. Not Siri yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you can control it with Alexa and Google Assistant so far.
Aren't they going to add this to what's the name of the Apple HomePod? Is that what it is?
So you're talking about Apple HomeKit.
No.
HomeKit is Apple's smart home thing. The HomePod is their speaker that will work with HomeKit. But in order for it to work with the HomePod, it has to be HomeKit compatible.
Gotcha.
Right. So the HomePod will control anything that's HomeKit compatible.
Gotcha.
In other words, there's nothing that'll work only with the HomePod.
So they haven't announced Nest.
They have not.
Okay.
What they did say is that they are now open to HomeKit because Apple has relaxed, I think, some of the rules about getting things certified for HomeKit. So they started with the Learning Thermostat. From there, they launched this. This is the Nest Protect. This is a carbon monoxide and smoke detector, and it's a smart one. So number one, if you have multiple of these installed in your home, they all talk to each other. So if one is putting out an alert, you'll hear the alert from all of them, but the alert is actually someone talking. So it'll say, hey, there's smoke in, let's just say, the kitchen. There's smoke in the kitchen. Press the button if you want to, silence the alert. If you don't, when it starts firing, all of them will start firing. And so what happened was when they launched this, it had a cool feature that I thought was great because, you've been in a home where a fire alarm's been going off, right? Okay.
Or the
so
fire
what do you
alarm
have
or
to do?
smoke alarm?
Smoke alarm. That's what I meant. What do you have to do? Smoke alarm's going off.
You got to
What do
run
you gotta
over
do?
there, find a ladder.
Right.
You got to press the button. And try and make it stop. And while your wife and kids are scrambling to find a 9-volt battery.
Yes. There you go. So they decided, you know what? Who wants to do that? Nobody. So what we're going to do is build in a feature called Wave. So if their thing is going off, so this is up on a ceiling, and you just walk underneath it and you just wave at it like, hey, don't worry, everything's fine. But what they found was people make that motion when there's a fire happening. Like, hey, oh no, there's a fire.
Oh, geez.
So like you're over here waving, and it's like, oh, okay, everything's fine. And you were just freaking out, not realizing you're waving underneath the Nest Protect. So they had to remove that feature, which I don't know. I just thought that was like one of the coolest things because it stops you from having to do the whole ladder thing. So this Nest logo here is also a button. So that's the button you press to silence it. But now you have to do the whole, either grab a ladder or get a broom and like poke at it or something like that. So it doesn't solve that one problem. It does, though, make it's better to use because it uses apparently a woman's voice when there is an alert in the subconscious brain of humans will make them, like, if you're sleeping, you'll wake up. If it's a man's voice or if it's just like a beep, it's more difficult for you to wake up.
Is that why my wife ignores me?
Probably. No, she ignores you because you're trying to tell her how sexy Excel is. When she puts on her hot dress for the night, you're like, baby, come look at this spreadsheet over here. That's why. She's tired of that. That's why she makes you wear that orange vest, too. So that's the Nest Protect right there. All these things
Are
send...
these new?
The Nest Protect, this came out, I think, like 3 years ago.
Okay.
So that's the other thing is Nest. So they have 5 products on the market. They've been around for more than 5. Like they're very slow at innovating. It seems like I would think they would have more products coming out because just by the name Nest, that means you're home. So okay, next was the camera that I don't have here. It's an indoor camera. Then they released this one. This is the Nest Cam Outdoor. So the cool thing about this is it's a wide angle. It's weatherproof, so it can be raining or snowing or hot outside or whatever. The camera will work fine in all elements. The negative that I've found with the Nest Cam Outdoor, some people will see it as a positive, but it has to be plugged in. So you have to plug it into an outlet. There's no battery. There's no, like with the Nest Protect, you can choose either a battery-powered one or one that's wired to your home.
Yeah.
They don't do anything here. So if someone walks up to your house and just unplugs it, then okay. Like now it's not working.
Really?
You know what I mean?
That?
Yeah. Like if you unplug it from power, then it's done. Now you will hopefully have it pointed there to where you would see who unplugged it. Like the way mine is set up at home. If you walked up to it and unplugged it, you would be on camera for a good 10 seconds. So I'd see your face and everything. But still, it seems like kind of a flaw to me that they don't have the option of doing battery backup.
Okay.
But that's the Nest Cam Outdoor. And then this is the brand new one that just launched just a couple weeks ago. This is the Nest Cam IQ. The cool thing here, this is where you're starting to see them like kind of take what they've learned from the other products and incorporate it. So this is a 4K camera sensor, but it only records in 1080p. So the benefit of the 4K is that if you're looking at your camera and you zoom in, you could zoom in up to 75% without any loss of quality because it's 1080p. So you're not losing, any fidelity. You can see things. It's HDR, so even if there's like brightly lit stuff and dark stuff, everything you can see.
High dynamic range.
High dynamic range. And then it also has person alerts. So not only will it recognize, okay, that's an animal and that's a person walking, it'll recognize specific people. So it'll say, oh, Todd walked into the room, or your kids came home from school. It'll say, okay, this kid is home. So you'll know who's there, and it'll also say, hey, someone we don't recognize is here. What's happening?
So is this new? This is new.
That's the brand new one.
Got it. How much does this one cost?
I believe this one is $300.
Okay.
So this one is kind of expensive. And some of those features that I mentioned work with their Nest Aware service, which you have to pay, I believe it's $30 a year in order to use. So that's kind of becoming their business model because they're using cloud, machine learning to get a lot of this stuff to work. Because you're not going to be able to, use a small camera like this and have it do all this like facial recognition.
Right.
So it requires the cloud component.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm using sort of a home security system that is a little bit more old school. It's got a little console that sits on my desk. I probably shouldn't say this publicly.
What's the code?
So would it be smart to just shift to something like this, pay the service fee to Nest instead? I mean, or do you
The service fee you pay to Nest is not a home security fee. So they're not
going to
calling
get the police.
Right. But I do think, with the older home security systems, those were before the days of the smartphone, right? So if someone broke into your house, you didn't have a way to look and see who was there, or did an animal just knock something over, or what happened. Now you can. So I do think there is something to be said for kind of using smart home products that you can access on the go. You can actually see what's going on. You get push notifications if they think something is weird, and then you can just alert the authorities.
Right. I had a false alarm about 3 weeks ago. We were on vacation. The cat sitter came in and left and set the alarm, and then jostled the door a little bit as he was leaving in a way that set it off. And it was like 5:30 in the morning, so our phones were nowhere near us when the alarm service called, and so they dispatched the police.
And what happened?
I got hit with a big expense.
You got a bill?
Yeah, I got a bill.
What?
It was like, I think it was $150 for first time offenders.
Interesting.
As they said. And so to me, that approach that you just described, frankly, I'm more open to that. It's a little more flexible.
Yeah.
Now, are the police going to pay as much attention to me, Joe homeowner, calling as they are an alarm service? Does the alarm service somehow know the tricks to make sure the police are dispatched
That's interesting.
quickly? I don't know. Are you giving something
I don't know
up?
either. But yeah, that's interesting because, that's the thing is you don't want those false alarms. And that's why they're building things into here like, we can sense a pet. So just because there's motion doesn't mean that someone's in the house.
Oh, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about pets.
Right. Or, you have your family, right?
I wonder if the cats set it off, actually.
It could be. It could be.
Anyway,
you never know.
Yeah.
You could have your family all have, the facial recognition, and then you can set, okay, we're away. And then if it recognizes someone in the home and it doesn't see one of your faces, then it's like, okay, we need to let them know. And
Interesting.
Are
Are
there
there
call
things
the
out
police.
there that have?
Yeah, this does that.
Oh,
this will do that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have things like that where you have more power thanks to the machine learning and the power of the cloud. I think now we're seeing the cloud actually do stuff other than just storing files.
So this has facial recognition to the point that it'll say, that's this person who got here, who was here before. That's Joe. That's your kid. But
that's right.
I don't recognize this person.
Yep.
And then alert you.
Yep. That's right. And it's
Very
4K.
interesting.
So even though it's recording at
Gotcha.
1080p, it's 4K. And if you have Nest Aware, it's saving everything 24/7. So any movement that happens at any point, it just gets saved.
Okay.
And you can always go back and see what happened.
All right. So that is the Nest Cam IQ. As Andrew
Right.
said, it's $299.
Right. And that's
directly
all
from
the Nest. That's the whole Nest smart home system currently. Obviously, there's other ones out there as well. But
And we're going to get into them a little bit more on the podcast.
On the podcast, right.
All right. Good. Last thing here. T-Mobile. We've each got
T-Mobile.
stories. We're T-Mobile customers. Let's hear yours. Let's hear yours first.
All right. Mine wasn't a positive one. So,
Did you hear that, John Ledger?
John Ledger. Did you see? By the way, T-Mobile's giving away free beach towels today.
Yeah.
I'm like,
T-Mobile
who wants
Tuesdays.
that? Yeah. How do you go from like free movie tickets and free pizza to like here's a free towel, whatever. Anyway, so I bought
There's
this.
52 Tuesdays every year.
I know.
You got to do something.
I bought this Samsung Galaxy S8 at launch. Okay, from T-Mobile, and anytime. So I paid full price. I didn't pay a monthly fee. So anytime you get something full price, you're supposed to be able to get it unlocked. That's how it's always been. If I go to the Apple Store and I pay full price for an iPhone, it's unlocked. If you go to Verizon, you pay full price. Actually, Verizon's not allowed to lock phones, so anything you buy from Verizon is just unlocked automatically. So I buy this phone from T-Mobile, and they tell me I have to use it for 3 days in order to unlock it permanently. So it has to be on the T-Mobile mobile network for 3 days. So I'm like, okay, that's weird.
It's a little
but
random.
All right, fine. So I'm trying to unlock it. I didn't use it because I use my iPhone. So I was like, I hadn't used it for a while. So I'm trying to get this unlocked for the past week. I'm talking to support, trying to get this thing unlocked. And they're like, it's approved. I don't know what's happening. It keeps failing. So yesterday I call in. I'm like, what's going on? I'm trying to unlock this phone. You told me I can unlock it. It's not working. And they're like, well, you've only used it on our network for 7 days. I was like, okay, that's more than 3. And he's like, and it's 40 days. You need to use if you buy a phone from T-Mobile, you need to use it with your SIM card in there for 40 days before we can permanently unlock it.
That seems wrong.
Isn't that weird? And I said, I paid full price. Like, there's no agreement between you and I just bought a product from you. That's weird. And
that
he was
seems like one of those things they should fix.
Right. And so he's putting me on hold, talking to the supervisor and everything. I mean, the guy's super nice. Like, no problem with the guy. But the policy, he's like, the policy is the policy. We can't do anything. And I was like, the guy told me 3 days. And what happened was the 3 days is if you want to do a temporary unlock. So you're taking a quick vacation to Mexico or something like that, and you want to put another SIM card in there. You can do a temporary, like, 20-day unlock.
Yeah.
That's what you need for 3 days.
So it's the official word on their
What does it say?
FAQ page for unlocking your mobile wireless device. The device must have been active on the T-Mobile network for at least 40 days on the requesting line.
That's terrible.
That's like biblical.
Right. Why would you do that? I'm paying full price for this device. all you're telling me is I should have gone to some other company to buy this phone instead of buying it from you as your customer.
Wait a second. Do we know that Verizon and
Absolutely.
AT&T don't have those
Absolutely.
same policies?
I absolutely know that because Verizon, due to FCC ruling, getting a bunch of Spectrum a few years ago, they cannot lock their phones.
Oh.
So you buy a phone from Verizon, it's not locked. If you go to the Apple store, you pay full price, as long as you pay full price for the phone. Because I believe what Apple does is all their phones are unlocked until you buy it. And then if you buy it on some sort of plan, that's what triggers it getting locked. So if you pay full price, it's not locked. So as a T-Mobile customer, I could have just gone to Verizon and bought this phone and had no problems.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So fix it.
My T-Mobile issue, far more petty.
Let's hear this.
Not nearly as meaningful.
Have to do beach towels?
They came out with the iPhone 7 trade-up program last week. They promised that T-Mobile customers can save $300 on any iPhone 7 or 7 Plus after the trade-in of an iPhone 6, 6 Plus, 6S, 6S.
That's not a bad deal.
6S Plus. I was like, sweet. I've got a 6S Plus. I'm going to trade that thing in. I've been wanting to get an iPhone.
Actually, not a good deal.
iPhone 7. Not a good deal?
I understand what you're saying, but what they're saying is they're basically saying we'll buy it from you for $300, but you can get more money for that phone if you sold it on Craigslist.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You traded in, we're giving you $300.
Right.
They're saying T-Mobile customers can save on any iPhone.
Right.
Basically a credit toward the purchase of the iPhone.
That's right.
Based on the value of the trade-in.
So they're undervaluing the phone.
Interesting. Okay, well.
But you didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that. So I went in and I was like, okay, so I'm on Jump on Demand.
Mm-hmm.
So that is basically where I can upgrade to a new phone.
Right.
After a certain time period. And I've gotten confused on exactly how Jump on Demand works. But the idea is it's kind of like insurance where they allow you to upgrade sort of out of cycle.
Annually, right.
Yeah, with minimal financial cost.
Yes.
So I was like, I want to take that and I want to combine it with this $300 off offer.
Right.
And
so you basically wanted them to pay you to get an iPhone.
And, you know, I was inspired by you, Andrew.
Well, how did I inspire you?
Because when you,
I am an inspiring
I think
guy.
you either switched to T-Mobile or you somehow when you got your latest T-Mobile plan, you used all these promotions and you stacked them on top of each other.
Yes, I did.
And I realized that's more about the monthly bill, not about the hardware costs. So, you know, hardware and software here essentially. So it turns out it does not apply to the hardware. You cannot stack their promotions on top of each other on the hardware side as you can on the billing side.
Did you storm out of the store?
No, they were super nice. in fact, the person who was helping me, the T-Mobile employee, was basically she wrote it all out on a sheet of paper and spent.
So she was trying to make it happen.
She was like, let's do the math here. If only she had Excel, it might have been a little faster.
Too bad.
But
and she would have looked sexier too.
Anybody who uses Excel by definition is sexier. I'm sorry. All right, so if you're just tuning in, that's a reference to something that happened earlier, and it was by no means a sexist remark.
It's an inside joke.
A joke from earlier about how much
boycott.
I love Microsoft Excel. So that's the deal. That's it. We got a lot to talk about on the podcast. We better get starting to recording.
So we're gonna break these things up into 2 podcast episodes.
That coming up the next couple weeks.
Right. So be sure you're subscribed to the podcast. You'll hear about all the non-smart home stuff in the first one. Then we'll go into smart home for the second one.
So just a reminder: search for Geared Up on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, basically wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. SoundCloud, Stitcher. Also, if you want to subscribe to get the live stream, go to Andrew's YouTube page at youtube.com/gearlive.
Yep.
And you can listen to the show on the radio if you're in the Seattle region at 8 p.m. Saturday nights and 1 p.m. Sundays on Kyra Radio 97.3 FM. So that is the gist.
That's it. That's it for the live stream Geared Up.
Yeah, anybody? So Andrew, you're not paying attention to the live stream.
Oh.
I should point out. That's some
folks
are pointing that out. Tech Decades, Clean India. You two are prolific in the comments here. Food Stamp as well. Let's see if anybody has anything. They're talking amongst themselves.
Talking amongst themselves because they're being ignored.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
iPhone. Well, thanks. Next time we'll pay more attention to you guys because that is the main reason we do the live stream.
That's true.
Is to interact with you and get your questions and ideas for the podcast that we're about to record.
Yes.
So, all right, that is it for the Geared Up live stream. Until next time, I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.
Talk to you later.